What's up, guys? Today we're talking about Squad 10.0, and we're getting our first good look at the Ukrainian faction coming to Squad, along with some more that we're going to discuss in this video. But first, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, drop a comment down below with your thoughts. And if you need a copy of Squad for you or a friend, you can get a key using the link in the description below and my code SLAY3K30 for 30% off. Now, it's been a little while since we've seen a more conventional force coming to Squad, but based on the roadmap, two factions that were upcoming would be Ukraine and eventually the French Land Army. Now, some background on the AFU, or Armed Forces of Ukraine. It's meant to be a conventional Blue 4 faction, which I would imagine that we're all a little surprised by. They're going to have modern equipment and vehicles to take on other conventional factions. Their equipment will focus on Ukrainian-produced equipment or Russian-based equipment. That is the breakdown that Offworld has provided to partners, along with a list of units expected with the launch of the Ukrainian forces. And as you'd expect, you're going to see a variety of what we typically see within conventional forces within Squad, including air assault, armored, combined arms, light infantry, mechanized, motorized support, and amphibious assault. Now, Ukraine's going to have some new vehicles along with some new weaponry. First, let's dive into infantry. It's worth noting that across several kits, you're going to see a new weapon, a new bullet rifle for the Ukrainians in the Malyuk. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. But this will come in different calibers, including 5.45, 7.62, and 5.56. Now, let's take a quick look at the Malyuk, which shouldn't be surprising in terms of how it operates. It's very similar to what you'd expect from a bullet rifle. Next up, we'll get some variations of the AK-74 across multiple kits. You'll have a Raider kit, but you will also get the Scout class that comes complete with a drone. With the Rifleman kit, you can get an idea of the sights expected for the weaponry for the Ukrainians. And it does feel pretty conventional. The automatic riflemans are going to get variations of the RPK or the RPD. Now, moving on to Grenadier, they're going to have 3 different kits, including one with the RPG-7 fragmentation rockets. For the light anti-tank, you're going to have the C90CR or an RPG-7 option, coming out across 3 different kits. Here's a look at the new C90 coming in for the light anti-tank infantry. Marksman is going to get the SVD and the UAR-10, and the machine gunner has 2 options of PKM. The heavy anti-tank will feature either the In-Law or the RPG-7. And of course, finally, you'll have your combat engineer class along with your scout class. It's worth noting that the AK-74, the AKS-74, the RPK, the SVD have all been remade from scratch, along with the RPG-7. All right, now let's hop over to vehicles where the Ukrainians are going to see some new additions to Squad. You'll see a new main battle tank in the T-64 BM2. Now, I can't speak to the vehicle's armor, but I can speak to the weaponry. You're going to have your typical loadout, which will include reflex-guided missiles and fragmentation. Nothing crazy here, but if we jump over, we're going to start seeing some new IFVs added to the game, in addition to IFVs that we're pretty familiar with. So while the Ukrainians will have access to the BMP-2, they're also going to get the BTR-4, which features windows in the front, which I assume are susceptible to enemy fire to some extent. And we do get a pretty detailed interior in the front and the back of the vehicle. Now, when it comes to armament, as you would expect, it's going to be just like a BTR because it is a BTR. So you'll have your 30mm AP, fragmentation, you'll have anti-tank rockets, grenade launcher, and of course, a coax machine gun, along with deployable smokes. Not to mention, you'll also get a commander seat with stabilization. But I am really interested to see the strength of this vehicle, especially with the windows on the front. Like, can you decrew this just like you would a Guardian? Next up, the Ukrainians will have the BMP-1, but they will also get a new BMP. This will be the BMP-1TS. While the chassis of this may seem familiar, you're going to have some differences when you start getting up to the gunner seat, including this entirely new screen. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that the screen represents any sort of damage on the vehicle, which is partly what I was wondering given the layout and the information on the vehicle itself. Now, similar to the BTR-4 and other vehicles, you're going to have kind of the same layout in terms of armament. An AP, fragmentation, ATGM, you're going to have your coax and a grenade launcher. You will have a commander seat, though this one is not stabilized. Now, those are 3 of the heavier vehicles that you're going to find with Ukrainian Armed Forces that are different from what we're accustomed to in Squad, including the main battle tank and 2 IFVs. I'll be curious how these stand up to enemy vehicles. I think the BTR-4 may be a little weak because of the front window glass, but I think we know what to expect when it comes to the BMP-1TS. Now, the Ukrainians will get a BM-21 Grad, along with some MTLBs to fill out some of their vehicles. They'll have open-top light armored vehicles in the Kozak 2M1. These will come equipped with either the automatic grenade launcher or the NSV heavy machine gun. They do have access to the BRDM-2 with a fully decked out interior. Next up, they'll have access to the CRAS 6322 transport and Logi utility trucks. This, in addition to the MTLBs, will build out their logistics capability, in addition to their Mi-8 utility helicopter. It does look like the AFU commander role will get a new asset in the precision strike, and it looks like this would replace a conventional airstrike. This strike is meant to be an Su-25 dropping 2 FAB-250 bombs on a precise area, and it is the largest explosive added to squad to date. There's a new emplacement ATGM being added with the AFU. This is the Stugna P. It seems to be operating in two parts, with a control unit for launching the missile and the launch device being separated from the control unit, meaning that it seems like you can pick up this briefcase, go downstairs, but have the emplacement on top of a building waiting for a vehicle to come out. This would basically keep the operator out of harm's way to some extent. Obviously, you still have to reload at the launch device, so even after firing your shot, you have to get back up there, which makes you susceptible, but I wonder what the potential is to see this across other factions. Now, generally, I don't think there's any other crazy surprises for the AFU. While you do get plenty of crossover with other factions, we do have a few new things introduced to the game. Whether we can get more remote-controlled emplacements, maybe more precision-guided weaponry for other factions remains to be seen, but I do feel like this is opening the door for those things to be added. I also don't agree with this faction being blue for. I kind of feel like they should be independent, especially with the French land army getting added later. That kind of fills the void of a need for more conventional blue 4 factions. Maybe that would give this faction greater flexibility, but it also kind of makes sense in my head based on some of the things that they have within the faction itself. I gotta mention that some of the redone textures for weaponry, the interiors for the vehicles, and some of the new vehicles that have been textured look really impressive. While that's not a fix for some of the issues we currently face in squad, it is nice to see. And I'm hoping we begin to see all these retextures, some more interiors added to the game over time across all the factions. Now, there are some other changes coming with the version 10 update. For example, there are some changes to the main menu, especially when you click on the training tab. Part of the playtesting happening is also tied to some updates to the server browser system. Finally, it looks like Offworld is actually looking to make some vehicle updates, including fixing some brakes across all wheeled vehicles. They also want to fix the CPV from flipping. They're also looking into main battle tanks and how their brakes are working, as well as some light tracked vehicles getting checked, including the BMP-1, BMP-2, and 3. I may be wrong, but this appears to be a portion of the work that they're doing to try to update vehicles based on community feedback. So I wouldn't assume that this is all the changes we'll see for version 10 specific to vehicles, or maybe in general. I wouldn't assume that this is going to be all the fixes. I feel like there will be more. I think the main thing that the community wants and I want are just fixes to the game more generally. Obviously, there's been some updates and hotfixes recently to help address muzzle smoke, which is a significant issue, especially for infantry. I can't really speak to any changes with performance or anything like that attached to this version 10 playtest. And I think we're only seeing the start of version 10. I'm hoping that we see some performance things, maybe some hot fixes incorporated into this, as well as some of the fixes they've already included. It's great to have more content because the game needs it, but we also need some repairs, things since version 10 that are maybe slowing down or hurting the game overall. So I'm very aware that this video is focused more so on content than hot fixes and things that I think many of you are hoping for. So we'll have to be on the lookout to see what Offworld does between now and when version 10 releases, as well as what else may get incorporated into that big update. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can be up to date on future videos. Leave a like, drop a comment down below with your thoughts on this new faction, and I will catch you all next time.